A very special guest today are Eric and Jessie James Decker, who are terrific people. And we have a partnership with them through Things Remembered, which is new, but really doing well. In fact, I think you guys were doing some photography shoots yesterday to get ready for our big spring rollout of some product together. So welcome, Jessie, and welcome, Eric. And say hello to my co-host, ReShon.
Thanks so much, Jim. Hi, everybody. ReShon Anderson, General Manager of Things Remembered. Really excited about this discussion today. And I know, Jim, you're excited as well to meet Jessie, but also you have a personal relationship with Eric.
Well, I've known Eric in years gone by. He's a terrific guy. And I shared a story yesterday, Eric, about you. And I'll tell it quick. Because I was telling people that you're a nice guy and a special guy. So maybe I had my fingers crossed when I was saying that, Eric. But I told him a story about we had a chance to go to a hockey game together at Madison Square Garden, see the Rangers. And we were guests of a friend in a box there. And there were 3 or 4 or 5 of us together at that game. And before the game, there were a ceremony on ice. And it had several kids on ice who were cancer patients. And there was one young man, maybe 11 or 12 years old would be my guess. And he was in a wheelchair, but it wasn't sitting in a wheelchair. He was on sort of a gurney that was propped on a wheelchair because he was in such bad physical shape. And lo and behold, they were those children, when they left the ice with their parents, they were brought back to a box, which was just a couple of over from us. And the young man who was in that wheelchair contraption, his dad came up to me in the hall and he said, I don't mean to bother you, but is that Eric Decker you're with from the New York Jets at the time? And I said, yes, it is. He goes, my son was here for this hockey event and he has very, very serious cancer. And this was a wonderful day for him. But truth be told, he's a super Jets fan. And he's in particular super Eric Decker Jets fan. Is there any way, would it be an imposition if I were to ask Eric to come say hello? So I said, I don't think it would be, but let me go and approach Eric. So I went and told you, Eric, what was going on. And you didn't even answer me. You just whisked past me down the hall into the room. And I followed behind you a minute or so later. And there you are kneeling alongside this young man who's having one of the most special moments of his life, because you took the time to be with him, to give him the shirt off your back, literally, that you signed. And I stayed in touch with that dad. And he said it was the greatest moment of that young man's life. He didn't last a lot longer, but his dad wrote me a note after that saying how special at that time in his life that you were there and you gave of yourself so freely and willingly. So using your celebrity and your genuine personality to change someone's life in the most profound way. Eric Decker, I've been a fan of yours before I knew that about you, and I'll be a fan of yours forever because I know that about you. Jessie, I know you don't think he's that nice a person, but he really is.
Jim, nothing you're saying is surprising me. He really, I obviously am his wife, so I feel this way, but he's like the best guy I know. He just is. And I know, again, I'm his wife. We've been together a long time, but he is. He's the best guy I know. And something I always say about my husband is he always somehow does the right thing. He does the right thing. He always, he's a good guy. He's just a good guy. And I'm always looking to him in moments where I'm like, how should I handle this situation? Because he always seems to just do the right thing. And it's inspiring to me. And we've been together for 14 years.
Well, Jim, I appreciate you recalling that story because I think it's, being away from the game and, in a sense, the celebrity part of it as an athlete, professional athlete. Like those are the moments that really matter and that you remember. The locker room, the relationships you build, kind of the difference you get and the impact you get to make on your community. And that's a special moment for that kid, a special moment for me to be able to have that ability. We get such great perspective on what life is because you have goals in life, you want to achieve certain things, but if you could impact a person, a group, a community, that's where kind of the real, where the real stuff is. And so I appreciate you bringing that up.
ReShon, how was it to work with Jessie yesterday?
Oh my gosh. So fabulous. She spent quite a bit of time with us between yesterday and then today. I told her she might be sick of us by the end of the week, but we have so much fun with Jessie. She's just such an amazing personality. When she walks in the room, she really literally lights up the room and has all these great content ideas. I don't know how she does it, but it's pretty amazing. And we're so excited about this collection. It's going to be really great. Wedding's a huge category for Things Remembered.
So this photo shoot was focused around the wedding line?
It's focused around the wedding product for bridal party, for bachelorette, gifts for the bride, just all things wedding. And we love it. We think it's going to do amazing. Everybody's excited about it.
Eric, when you met Jessie, were you aware of her creative talents? Was that always there? Was she always had this little entrepreneurial drive?
She did. I think she's very talented and talented in different things. She was a singer-songwriter first and has grown into.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
And
I thought that came later.
Yeah, and so I think I always loved her desire of being great and pushing herself to do big things. And so watching her as a mother now of four, obviously as a businesswoman, still as a singer-songwriter, I mean, it's just fascinating and also very motivating to see her work and to see how she can balance all those things. And that creativeness comes out in different ways. She's silly, she's goofy, she's like the go-getter, the clapper starter. And so for me, being a little bit more quiet, reserved, it's refreshing to have that. And so it's been a joy, and she always keeps us entertained.
Jessie, how do you balance it? Eric says you're a marvel at doing it. Your singer-songwriting career, your design career. How do you balance it all?
I'm still trying to figure out how to balance it all. But I think that, a handful of years ago, a neighbor of ours came over, and I was having a moment where I was overwhelmed and I was crying, and I was just trying to figure out how to balance all of these things because I was just stressed. It's a lot to manage, and my mind's always going, and I know that I'm never going to stop doing all the things that I love because I enjoy it, but there's moments of burnout, right? So my neighbor comes over, she's from Australia, and they're still great friends of ours to this day. And her job was working with CEOs and heads of major multi-million, billion-dollar companies and trying to help them balance their life. And she sat with me and she says, I want you to make a chart. We're going to make a chart, and at the top of the pyramid, you're going to put your biggest priorities in life, and then we're going to start building this pyramid together. And the top of my chart, of course, is my children and my family. Next underneath it was my music career, my cookbooks, my brands. And then under this, and then I just kept kind of creating this pyramid. And she really, there's so much more to the story, but she really explained to me, when you put the top of your pyramid, your number one priority, things will slowly fall into place, but you have to have that center that grounds everything. So in the future, don't let moments interfere with you being a mother and being a good wife. Don't take the trip if it's going to be during something that's important to you, because then you're not going to be giving your best, right? You're just going to be sad that you didn't go to the thing. Family's more important, and you're saying that. So put that at the top of your pyramid, and don't let anything ever interfere with you being a great mother and a great wife. And so that kind of advice has stuck with me to this day. I always put at the top of the pyramid, and I always try to forecast. Do I take this opportunity? Do I take this job? Is this going to interfere with my heart, my soul of being a great mother and a great wife and my home life? Is it going to interfere? If it does, don't take the job. What does it matter? So I feel like for me, it's really making that the center, and everything will fall into place, and really learning to say no and learning to say yes to the things that are most important to me. But to me, that's the best of my ability to balance it. Just balance my life.
I'm so inspired by that, but also so honored that we were somewhere in the top of that pyramid for you to partner with us. I'm also curious, as you're talking about balance, how are you two balancing your responsibilities as a husband and wife team?
And I told ReShon this story yesterday. She asked me about how did I do it? And I said, Well, Mary Lou, my wife, when we started in the business early on, we worked together. And then we decided we'd rather stay married. So she stopped working with me. But you guys have figured out a way to make it work.
But you're right, though. I mean, there's challenges to working together. We went through that. Just there's no cutoff of like life and work conversations. You're in the bedroom at night, you're talking about business. It's like, okay, well, this may not be the healthiest thing. Let's find a way to separate the two. And honestly, as we've got to this point, she is kind of like very career oriented and like kind of holding the fort down for us, where this season of life for me is kind of I'm exploring what's next. I'm staying busy with some things, helping where I can with her businesses, but honestly, trying to support her is my biggest role in the household. And so we've learned, the yin and yang. As she takes a break, I pick up a little bit, vice versa. She's going, 1,000 miles an hour. I'm kind of in the back, kind of holding, the fort up. And so that has worked out really well for us. And I think, though, being intentional with spending time together, because it can get busy. We got our fourth is almost a year, but
still not sleeping. With
kids alone, it's challenging to find time together and to really nurture that relationship. And so we've tried, date nights and just at home, trying to be intentional with how we have conversation and spend time. So it's definitely a challenge, but it's something that we've worked on. I think we're finding our groove.
I think having such a strong foundation to begin with is the biggest thing to me. I think when you've got a strong foundation before all of these real life things happen, there's not as big of a shock factor. All these things that happen in life, having kids, moving, changing jobs, moving houses, like all these things are real life problems. If you're having problems before any of this stuff goes down, you should really pay attention to that, because that's when real life hits you. I think we had such a strong foundation to begin with, and neither one of us have this major power trip with one another. Like you said in the beginning, for the first 8 years of your career, you were playing football, and I was the support system and happy to do it, and bringing the wagon to all the Jets practices with the kids and the juice boxes, and just being his support system. And I loved every minute of it. And then as soon as he was ready to retire, I thought, all right, I think I want to get back to work a little bit. And he was like, you do your thing and I'll hold the fort down. So it's been a really great balance, and neither one of us have an ego about anything. We support each other. And like I said, that foundation of the very beginning, I really think solidifies everything that you go through in life.
Jessie, I've heard from Eric how important Nashville as a community you chose to make your home is important to you. How does that factor into your life, your career?
So I moved to Nashville in 2007, as soon as I graduated high school, and I got a record deal within a few months and was immediately on the road. Touring.
That's extraordinary.
Thank you. It was always my goal. I've been singing and songwriting since I was 9 years old. And it's always been a passion of mine. And so I knew as soon as I graduated high school, I was going to hit the road and move to Nashville and make something of myself. I was ready. So I got a record deal. I was a touring artist. I had a top 20 pop single, gold record. I was on the road with Jonas Brothers. I mean, things were really starting to take off for me. And it was a really exciting time. And this is all before, of course, I met Eric, but living in Nashville, I moved about 14 times growing up. I don't have a hometown. And so living in Nashville since 2007, this is my hometown. And it felt really good to have a place that I can always come back to and always I'm always rooted here. And so I was so happy when I met Eric that he loved this city as much as I did, because I was willing to move where he wanted to go. I'd go anywhere this guy goes. But I loved how much he loved it here, so it really made it great for us to decide to live here and raise our family.
And it's basically the exact same climate as Minnesota, right?
I mean, not quite, but we did get 6 inches of snow.
It's 4 seasons. We get all 4 seasons here.
It is a great place, and it's changed dramatically since I came here in 2011. But in terms of like value,
one of the hottest growth cities in America, huh?
Yeah, it is one of the hottest cities for sure. And I think we're seeing just the pros and cons to it, but it still has its foundation as a city as well, and just the value system that we believe in raising our kids and stuff. And just centrally located, which is great. Getting to New York is easy. Getting to Minnesota, Florida, all easy locations to fly to.
I I was teasing with Jim as we were out shooting in Nashville. The weather was so lovely, but I said today I'm back in Chicago in the freezing cold where I belong. It was a nice respite, but back to the cold. Did you guys get married in Nashville also?
We did. So I guess we met virtually, but we kind of fell in love in Colorado. We got married in Colorado. We had 3 out of 4 babies in Colorado. So the Denver area is dear to our heart for that reason. It was a special place for us, and that's
where we got married.
That's why we named our last kid Denver, because it's kind of full circle, into the chapter of what Denver, Colorado has brought to us.
A lot of similarities with Nashville, a youthful city. It's a magnet city for all the college graduates in that part of the country, like Nashville and Dallas were, in Atlanta in the South and the Southeast.
Yeah, and the weather's way better out there, I would say, too. You get 200 plus days of sunshine, or 300 days of sunshine. You got the mountains, snow, but really it's a pretty mild climate, dry climate, which I love. But again, I still think Nashville. I pick Nashville over Colorado.
Erica, I remember you were active in training service dogs. Yeah. And then I heard something about Decker's Dogs.
Yeah, so we started Decker's Dogs through Freedom Service Dogs, which is an organization in Denver, Colorado, and we help them, rescue dogs from shelters and pair them up with veterans coming home with all different disabilities. And we ended up
really special
closing that down recently, but I'm working again with another foundation called Mutt Dog, and it's the same idea of helping these local rescues. And we have a rescue dog at home who's special to us. We try to get rid of her, but
no, we didn't. Don't say that.
No, she's great. She's like a guard dog.
Okay, don't say we try to get rid of her. There was just a learning curve between the new dog and our 2 old golden retrievers. They were not jiving for a second, so we were trying to maneuver that. Imagine an old 13 and 12-year-old golden, and there's this new crazy puppy. I was worried that we were going to stress our old seniors out, but yes, we had Decker's Dogs for years, and we loved it so much. And there's still a facility in Colorado that is called that floor is still named after that one of our very first foundations we started together. And it was really special. We were super hands-on with it. It was such an amazing thing to be a part of. I come from a military background. That's why we moved so many times. And so when we were trying to find a foundation to get behind, it just made the most.
Was your dad in the Air Force?
My dad was in the Air Force, yes. So it was just really...
So to be in the Air Force is to move around a lot.
We moved a ton for my dad's job, and then we moved a lot for my mom's job. My mom was in television. She was actually a television host. She did a lot with PBS. She did a lot for QVC. She was a home shopping network queen. And so I remember going on sets with her, sitting and watching her sell things and tell you how amazing this product is. I think I learned a thing or two from her, but it was a lot of fun to be a part of and to see. And it was great. I mean, it was hard moving around because, like I said, I never felt like I had a hometown, but it was also great because I think that it's made me extremely adaptable to whatever environment I'm in, and I'm able to relate to all walks of life. I truly am.
ReShon was telling me last night that she said it's very apparent that faith is important to you guys.
It's a pillar for sure in, I think, our lives, how we were raised, but also just in our relationship. And I think, I always tell a story because after I, retired from football, kind of everyone goes through that transitional period in their jobs of like, all right, what's my purpose now? Or what do I do next? And I think I struggled with that. And, it took me years to figure it out in a sense. And I think faith, going back to faith and my belief, spiritual belief is definitely helping. I think, as we get older and more mature, we notice how important it is in our relationship, especially with our kids.
I feel like your faith almost re-strengthens when you have children because they go to a Christian school and all the things that they're learning and they come home and tell us, it almost is like a refresher, a reboot as adults, to hear and see how much they're learning and the stories they're telling us. And it's been really special to see that through our children.
And how old is the oldest now?
She's almost 11.
The interesting years are just ahead.
I know. She's my best friend. I love her so much. She's just, it's incredible to think. We just had her, I feel like, and here she is, 11 years old.
But you know what's cool is we got 4 and 3 are boys, and our oldest is our daughter, and wouldn't have it any other way because she kind of sets the tone in our house, and she's got a good head on her shoulders. She's loves athletics. She just, her effort, her attitude, everything is what you'd want. And, the fearfulness obviously is there for the coming years. And we know, again, that she's got rooted in like some good principles and kind of hopefully will lead the charge for our household. So
a tough thing for your kids is that they're your kids. And so I think a lot would be expected of them on the athletic field. Eric, you were multi-sport skilled. I remember you had baseball draft opportunities that you turned down. So you're a multi-sport guy. I would suspect growing up in Minnesota that you played every sport imaginable. Especially back then, there were actually seasons to sports,
right? And
one ended and the other began. Not so much anymore. But how do you approach sports and participation with your 4 kids? Maybe the fourth one's a little early.
It is, but you're right though. Things are happening so much earlier with NIL and just the specialization of sports. And that's one thing I never wanted my kids to do is specialize. And now our oldest is in gymnastics, but she's doing basketball, she's doing track. And so we're balancing the sports part of it. But I think ultimately, and fortunate enough, we have former football players or hockey, even basketball guys that have kids that go to our school, and you could tell it's the same attitude as like, all right, listen, they're young. Like it's about having fun and your skill building right now. These skills, transfer to every sport physically, but also it's the emotional and mental, skills you're building of toughness, of teamwork, of resiliency, of just like the confidence building. And so I have a hard time with my second child because, I want to be critical because I feel like I know more. And he's like, Dad, I don't want you coaching me like that. And so each personality is different, right? And so
our oldest is like, coach me, tell me what you think I need. Can I show you this? What do you think? Our middle son is like, lay off.
And, so learning to adapt to those personalities is one thing, but the bottom line is I just want them to have fun and want them to want to play the sport. And I'm starting to see like there's, they're asking, hey, can I do, can we go, obviously I always want to go to the yard and play catch and stuff, but can we go up and work on this? And they're getting more specific, which is a lot of fun for me because sports has been my identity in my life and my passion. So to see them want it is pretty special. But again, it's such a small percentage to make it a career in life. So it's about having fun, building those relationships, and just building skills that are transferable to life in general.
You guys are talking about faith and family and sports. And I think one of the through lines is traditions. And I'm curious what kind of traditions you guys have in your family.
I feel like we are pretty traditional, obviously through the holidays, but I do think we have our routines that our kids expect. And I know a lot of families do this, but every night we say the same prayer, and I go to each of the rooms and I sit there and we say the prayer and I rub their back. One of them wants their baby song sang to them. The other wants me to rub her hands and her feet because she's a gymnast and her body hurts. And she wants me to put her little essential oils on her. Our son, little Eric, has it. Like they all have their thing. So that's part of our traditions is our prayer at night. We always say the prayer when we all sit together at dinner. We do not, unless there's a sport, we sit at the dinner table together every single night. We do not spread out. We don't eat at different times. This was very important to me growing up. We always sat at the dinner table. Phones away, nothing is involved. We just sit there, we look at each other, we talk about the day, we laugh, we play a card game. That's a part of our traditions is as a family. And I feel like that was instilled in me so much from my mother. I think because we moved around so much, we needed each other. We had to rely on each other for that core. And so that's been important to me with our children, having our family time. and you can tell our children love it so much, and they're going to carry that through their children. I can already see it by just what they're saying and what they love and their expectations. And our son going, I'm going to get the cups and fill them up with water and set the table. And we really make these things a priority because they're values and they are traditions that I want them to carry through with their children. And the other tradition is we make birthdays very big here. We go crazy for birthdays. My mom always went crazy for birthdays. And so it's the day you came into the world, and I want you to feel like the most incredible person in the whole wide world, because how lucky I am that you're in my life. And so I always make it I go overboard, but it's because it's so special.
Expectations will be big for their future spouses, there's no question.
And on the theme that ReShon started on there, rituals, are there traditions, rituals that you're conscious of trying to start in addition to the family time at dinner? And the adjunct to that is listening to you about the family dinner. As a grandparent, lucky enough, we have 3 kids and so 3 sets of grandkids. And it's very tough, especially as several of my grandkids are older than your kids, to see my kids, their parents, wrestling with the device question. Have you started to confront that yet?
I feel like we've been pretty lucky where I don't know that any of their personalities have shown an obsession yet. Thank God. I don't know.
Does the 11-year-old have a phone?
She has a family phone, but it's because she's at gymnastics 4 days a week, 4 hours at a time. So I need to be able to get in touch with her. She has zero obsession with this phone, and I've had this conversation because she doesn't have access to it all the time. But also, I think because it was introduced, and this is just my theory, I think because I introduced it to her a little early, going, this is to text your grandmother, this is to text me or your daddy, this is to text your aunt, this is not to play games, there's no apps, there's no social media, they're not allowed on, so there's none of that. I think it didn't become this, ooh, I have to have it thing. It was, okay, she'll let it go 2 weeks and the phone's dead. And I'm like, can you please charge the phone so I can get in touch with you when you're at practice? So I know. She's not obsessed with it. She's not worried about it. I have full access to it. And I think it's because it wasn't this big taboo thing. It was, this is a necessity. This is what it's for. And that's it. And so now it's like, okay, there it is.
And our kids, like our third loves music. And so, if they're doing something that's applicable, and some of the school stuff's on iPads, you get to use your iPad for these things that are progressing whatever your passions are. That's how I kind of call it. But otherwise, we put iPads away, and it's like, go outside, especially with boys. It's like, go,
they're big outside
explore,
kids.
Go find something to do. Because I think ultimately that is something that scares me, especially as my daughter now is in middle school. Our daughter's in middle school, and people are obviously around it and have it. And luckily she's not there, but it is something to be conscious of, creating kind of some boundaries or some expectations, so everyone's on the same page of what to expect.
I always kind of like the things that my mother says. It's like I find myself doing as an adult, which I know is so taboo in this generation of people, but I'm a little bit more old school in my approach as a parent. I'm in charge. You're not in charge. I make the rules, I set the boundaries, and you follow them. I'm the parent, you're the child. That's the way that this works. And again, I don't know how everyone does things these days. Everyone has a gentle parenting. That's not how we roll around here. I'm in charge and you're the child. And it's working out. We've got pretty great kids. They are respectful, they are loving, and we haven't had any issues yet.
Well, we explored how you handle sports and physical activity with them, and I think that's really good lessons for us to all learn there. But now the other side of the equation is right brain, left brain. What about music and entertainment? And are you encouraging your kids to try different instruments, engage in theater activities? The kids are growing up with superstar parents from 2 different genres. And it seems to me that as a grandparent, last Saturday was a great day. My wife and I happened to be in New York at the same time, and we went to a wonderful rock concert last Saturday afternoon. Our grandson was performing. He goes to a musical school, and they do a band camp every summer, and they had to do a different instrument every summer. And I love that idea. So that band camp became a concert, and they had a professional drummer, a professional keyboard player, the head instructor would play a bunch of different instruments, and 2 or 3 of the kids at a time would come up, and they'd each get 3 songs to perform. Most of them guitar, a couple bass players, a couple of fiddlers. But it was so much fun to go to. And his grandparents were in the front row of this theater, and to see the kids up there. And I love the fact that they're exposed to different instruments, and they're up there at 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. They're on stage, they're getting exposure, and they're getting to feel for that. They had their backstage passes on. The room was filled, but it was a great afternoon. How do you approach sports, music and instruments with your kids?
Oh man, it's so much fun. I mean, my kids have grown up on the road now. They've come on the bus with me and been backstage with their noise cancellation side stage watching mommy, and I'm waving at them, and they're running out on stage. They've grown up around this. In particular, our son Forrest is truly a musician. I've been able to have friends of mine who are songwriters, huge songwriters, come over, and we wrote our first song with Forrest. And he got to record it and actually have a real recording of this song. Yes, I buy him.
How neat is that?
Oh, it's huge. It's a great song. He's a great songwriter. He's 6 years old. But I'm constantly trying to foster that, because he has it. He feels about music the way that I did as a child. He's got the bug. He's got a drum set in his room. He's got a guitar. He's got keyboards. He gets his piano lessons.
He's got a notebook and he writes lyrics.
His songs.
It's awesome.
It's really special, and I feel like I've introduced him to the greats. I mean, he's not just listening to who's on the radio. He is his variety of music and knowledge is so eclectic, it would blow your mind. You could sit there and be like, that's an Elvis song, or that song's by the band Queen. Like, he knows his music and he knows his stuff, and he's obsessed with lyrics, and so he's incredible. He's an incredible dancer, and I'm just so excited about him and the way his brain works and how artistic he is. And it's a lot of fun for me, because I feel like I'm getting to see it through a child's eyes again. And it just brings me back to my childhood a little bit.
Has he written you a song? Or have you collaborated on a song?
We wrote a song together. Yes, we wrote a song together with my friend who's the songwriter. And he's got a couple more songs that we're going to record soon.
ReShon, why don't you sing a couple of your favorite songs?
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
I did sing in grade school, but it's been a very long time. I don't think you want to hear it now. Jessie, I've been dying to ask you about entrepreneurship, especially being a woman entrepreneur. I had a handbag business that I ran. I started it in 2007. I ran it for 6 years. And it remains the hardest thing I have ever done in my life. I learned a ton from it, but it was very difficult. And I'm thankful for the fact that in this role, it is an entrepreneurial role, but I have a whole resource ecosystem around me that you don't really have as an entrepreneur. So I'm curious how that experience has been for you, and what are your biggest lessons learned? I
would echo what you're saying. Starting Kittenish, out of all the things I have ever done, and I've written cookbooks, I've done a slew of things. This is the hardest thing I've ever done. Absolutely the hardest thing, the most challenging. I have shed tears over the years. It has been emotional. It has been also some of the most exciting moments of my life. It's been a roller coaster of emotions. I feel like I look back in time and I just, there's so many things I would have done differently. And then there's things that I felt like I was instinctively right on the money, I've learned so much along the way, so much since starting this in 2019. I cannot believe how much I've grown this business. I feel like if I were to start another business in the future, there's so many things I would do differently. I would learn differently. I would learn that probably next time it's good to have like a partner. Because it's hard for me it's hard to be, kind of doing this on your own. Obviously it's not alone. I have the most incredible team, and you've met my team. I couldn't do it without them. But I definitely would do things differently. But like you said, it's been one of the most challenging things I've ever done in my life, but also one of the most exciting things I've ever done in my life. I mean, we've done Miami Fashion Week. We've done collaborations and been featured in Forbes and done, like, we've really done some cool things. We've broken records that I never thought we could break. We're all celebrating. It's been really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was so great visiting the Kittenish store. We did part of the photo shoot there. I wanted to buy everything in the store, first of all, but it's just it's in a great location and there's such a cool vibe in there. I just love what you've done with the brand. I'm also curious what, if anything, you're teaching your kids about entrepreneurship, since we were talking about your kids earlier.
Well, I think our kids are very entrepreneurial, especially I would say our oldest, our daughter. Her wheels are already turning. She gives me ideas all the time of different businesses she wants to start. I'm actually taking one very seriously that she has an idea about, but her mind's always going. She's very entrepreneurial. She's very business savvy already for a little girl. She's super creative, really smart. And I feel like she has that thing where she just knows what people want. She knows she's able to feel the emotions of others. That's such a skill to be able to just know. It's like a hospitality skill, just knowing what people need, knowing what people want. She has that skill. And I think that after she blows up and becomes a massive Olympian in her gymnastics career, I do think she will have a huge career in whatever she chooses to do. And I do think it'll be in the business world.
Yeah, our kids get both buckets filled. I feel like Jess is super creative and just big picture, innovator. And I'm like rooted as a conservative person in like numbers. And so
you're a huge support system though. Like you
sure.
Really, I call him the mighty oak. He really holds the
But for me, our kids are still a little too young, but at some point I wanted to teach them about, what a business looks like, what a budget is. And even like maybe as they get closer to high school, we have some rental homes or some kind of, tangible investments that they can start independently, working themselves. I think those things are so important because school teaches you only so much, right? And then the real life experiences where I think you get a lot starting a business, learning, the ups and downs to what it takes to scale a business. I think at a younger age, if you can introduce some of those things lightly to them, the more they'll be prepared for, opportunities in the future.
I want to tell you a quick Nashville story. A good buddy of mine, his name is Kevin O'Neill. He runs a terrific search business. And we have a charity that we started here about 10 years ago. This will be its 10-year anniversary here in the greater New York area. It's called Smile Farms. And Smile Farms, as you might remember, Eric, is works on creating work opportunities for people with developmental disabilities. I have a brother, Kevin, who was born with a developmental disability. So it started selfishly trying to find a work opportunity for him. And fast forward, this will be our 10th year. As I said, we have 500 people that we employ and working mostly in agricultural settings. So greenhouses, growing plants and food stuff. And we have campuses, 13 different campuses now. We run a big dinner in Manhattan, in New York City, every November. And we were honoring my buddy Kevin O'Neill one year, about 4 years ago. And his daughter, Rory, very talented singer, and she picked up and moved to Nashville just that year. She was in pursuit of her singing career. She's a singer-songwriter, terrific young lady. And she heard that her dad was going to be honored, and she flew in to be our entertainment at the gala that year. And she rocked the place. It was, we're about 700 or 800 people, and this little girl gets up on stage, and she just rocked it. Well, I'm happy to tell you, I'd love to introduce you to her because she's your neighbor, but she just signed a big record deal with Warner Music.
That's amazing.
And so her dreams are starting to come true like yours did, Jessie. She's so she's part of the family. That's but lots of good things going on there. And I know how important your business is to you. And she's thinking about growing her business in different ways too. Tell me, if we were to connect 5 years from now, Jessie, what do you hope Kittenish has become?
I hope, and it's always been the same hope and dream, that every single woman owns a piece of Kittenish in their closet. And these pieces mean something to them. I know it sounds silly to talk about clothes, but I do think that when you look good, it makes you feel good. It's about building confidence. I want women to feel beautiful. I want them to feel like these pieces make them feel confident when they walk out the door, but they don't have to break the bank. My goal is for every single person to be able to get their hands on Kittenish. I want it to be, not just .com, but I want you to be able to walk into, a local retailer and be able to pick up a Kittenish piece. I want people to get their hands on. I'd love to expand in different age demographics.
But you're obviously going beyond clothing.
Yes, I'd love to expand. And I know that there's a lot more categories that I could get my hands on, and I've shown success in those. My goal, obviously, in the future, truthfully, and I don't know if this is supposed to be an out loud thing to say, but my goal is truly to find a great partner moving forward, because I know that finding great partners, it would give me the ability to take it to the next level. This is not anything I was educated on. This was something that I felt creative. I felt instinctive that this was going to be something I should do. And I can't believe what we've done. And I've really learned so much along the way. But, I feel like when you get to a certain time as an entrepreneur, there's only so much further that I can take it without really bringing in help. And I think that's wise for me to say, as someone I'm almost 37 years old, and be able to take a step back with no ego, going, you know what? I feel like I've done so great with this, but I don't know everything. And there's people out there that really know a lot more that I can learn from. And so I think that I'm so proud of the success Kittenish has had, and I know that it's going to continue to grow. We actually did just get into a retailer that I can't say yet. That's going to.
Let me suggest something to you.
Yep.
And don't tell her I said this, but this ReShon Anderson, she's a talented person with a lot of knowledge and resources, but don't tell her I said that, because she's going to be too hard to deal with. But I know what she told me last night about how highly she thinks of you. And she was telling me how far she thinks you can take this brand. So don't hesitate to call on her for help, advice, and partnership, because she's a real resource.
Well, thank you for that. Yes, I appreciate you saying that. And I do think there's a lot of potential, and I agree with Sean. I know this could be even bigger, and I'm so excited. I think it's that this time in this life of Kittenish where it's like, okay, let's take it to the next level now, because it's been so amazing, and I'm really proud of where we've taken it this far.
Jessie, what's the next thing coming up in terms of your entertainment career?
So I just got an offer for a 4th cookbook. So I'll be writing another cookbook, and I'm really excited. My cookware line has expanded.
Look out for the waistline, Eric.
Yeah, right. This guy he can eat everything and nothing happens. But very excited. My cookware line is expanded at Walmart. So that's really great news for me. And the brand, I cannot wait for everyone to get these new, beautiful pieces. The line's called Just Feed Me. And like I said, it's at Walmart, and we just expanded it. And so excited about that. Gosh, I don't know.
You got a lot of stuff
There's a lot going on.
Trying to keep up with her.
ReShon and I were chatting, as I said last night, and then a little bit more this morning. One of the questions we wanted to ask you, and we'll leave you with this one, is you're at the time of your life like my kids are, that their kids are young, and they're everything's so focused around their nuclear family. And you each have family beyond, obviously, in parents and extended family. But and because you're so busy in your lives with your separate professional careers, how do you think about maintaining relationships outside the family? Eric, in particular, I'm thinking about guys. Are you deliberate about, I need to work on my set of relationships and I need to invest in and maintain relationships? Because you can get into your own smaller world around your nuclear family very easily, because it can suck up every bit of your energy and time. How do you think about, are you guys deliberate about maintaining friends?
That hits on the head for me, because I feel like that's something I got away from for a while. And, they talk about toxic masculinity, but just the idea of men being able to have other men to have deeper conversation with. And I feel like I've learned how to do that. And I have a great group here in Nashville where we get together. I have some like bigger brothers or mentors that I lean on just with life, and to have life conversations. And it's been so healthy and just rewarding for me to have those. And I think, that's something I'm passionate about and want to share with other men, is like, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to have these conversations with each other, because life is hard, and,
you need it.
and we need each other. And so I'm very intentional about that. I play basketball in the morning with a big group of guys as well, which is fun because I need still a competitive outlet, and that's a way I kind of get it, but it's still fellowship along with it. And so I think it's, talking about balance, one of my goals this year actually is to reach back out to some former teammates of mine from college, from high school, even the NFL. I've lost a few friends over the years to, overdoses or just like bad life decisions. And it just makes me feel like, it's not hard to connect and just check in on someone, because what we've built, the relationship we've built in that environment, I compare it somewhat to the military outside of life and death situation, is like you go through things that no one else will ever go through with you. And, all of a sudden you break off and life takes you different places, but you still have this nucleus that you've built in that relationship. So checking in and, community is important to me. I love kind of your mission with that. And so we have a great community in Nashville as well through our kids' school. And I'm very passionate about this space, and think, to your point, it's super important to have other men relationships to lean on in this life.
I completely agree. ReShon, you told me that I'd love Jessie. You were right. You knew I thought really highly of Eric. What a treat for you and I. What are you going to do next, ReShon, in terms of making Kittenish a bigger and bigger brand through the things that you do?
Yeah, so we've got our wedding collaboration. We have a Mother's Day collaboration as well. And it is my hope, and I hope Jessie's as well, that we continue to work together. I think this has been such a great partnership. Our teams get along so well. We collaborate well. This collection has done really well for us. The first drop in holiday got a lot of fanfare. I'm just really excited about it. And I've had the pleasure of interacting with both Jessie and Eric throughout this process, and it's just always been great partnership, so respectful. I just can tell you guys are such good people. Really honored to know you.
Well, I can say the same thing. It's been so amazing to work with you guys. It's just easy breezy. Just like yesterday when we were wrapped, I was like, oh, okay. Like, it's been so easy and fun and natural. Our teams jive so well. And I really do feel like we have this, we see it the same. We just want to celebrate life. And that's what Kittenish is about. That's what you guys are about. And it's been a really beautiful marriage of a partnership.
Well, Jessie, you bring out the best in ReShon, because she's not that easy on us around here. She's giving us commands, demands all the time.
I love it. Me too.
She's a tough taskmaster.
She's great. She's great.
ReShon, thank you. Eric, Jessie, so nice to spend time with you, to get to know you even better on several different dimensions. You're just an amazing couple. I think when they have the Hall of Fame for couples and family people, your name's going to be chiseled on that wall.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Jim.
All right, we look forward to great things with you guys in the future.
You too. Okay, bye, you guys.
Thanks,
guys.
You guys.